So now without further delay, let's begin today's event. Sponsored by Avoka and Mitek and hosted by American Banker. It's my pleasure to introduce your moderator for today, and that is Michael Sisk. Mike, you have the floor.
Thanks very much, Greg, and I would like to welcome the audience once again. We are very grateful that you've chosen to share some of your day with us. We know that your time is valuable, and we will honor that today with what I am confident is going to be an enlightening 60 minutes or so of discussion. Once again, our topic today is digital account opening, how to increase your top line. And my name is Michael Sisk. I'll be your moderator today. I've been a New York-based journalist for about 20 years, and I've had stints as editor-at-large at U.S. Banker and editor at Red Herring. I've also had my articles appear in Barron's, Crane's New York Business, Inc., Institutional Investor, Strategy and Business, and Worth. However, more important than my background are the backgrounds of the three excellent speakers that are joining us today, and I would like to introduce them all to you now. The first is Mark DeCastro, Research Director, Consumer Banking at IDC. As an industry veteran, Mark provides extensive information technology expertise to assist IT managers with all facets of web-based technologies for online strategies within financial institutions, including home-based banking, bill payment, check imaging, cash management services for corporate and legacy system data transformation. And we're very, very pleased to have Mark with us today. And joining Mark is Steve Craig. Steve is Director of Products and Experience at Identity Mitek. Steve directs products and experience for Mitek's global identity business. He has over 10 years of experience in the technology industry and has previously worked on software as a service and mobile solutions for Digital Insight, Intuit, and Hewlett-Packard. Steve holds an MBA from the Ratty School of Management at University of California, San Diego. And joining Mark and Steve, rounding out our group today, is Derek Corcoran, Chief Experience Officer at Avoka. Derek counsels banks, insurers, and wealth managers worldwide on improving results in digital multi-channel customer acquisition. Derek is a frequent industry speaker whose presentations have been awarded Best of Show at 2 Finovate conferences in 2015. And we are also extremely pleased to have Derek with us today. And just before we jump into the real meat of the program, just to reiterate two things that Greg mentioned at the top of the hour. We do have time, or hopefully we'll have time at the end for about 10 minutes of Q&A. You do not have to wait until the end to put your question into the queue. As the spirit moves you, as the thought occurs to you, please get your question into the queue, and we will make every effort to get to it in the time we have. If we don't get to it, which sometimes happens, if we run out of time, then that can happen when we've got lots of great content like we've got today, we will follow up afterward. So if you don't hear from us during the program today, we will follow up, so please ask anything you'd like. We'd very much like to hear from you. We do have one poll also that Greg mentioned that, and please, if you can participate, I always encourage 100% participation when possible. We do share the results with everyone here, and it's a nice way for everyone that's come together to discuss this issue can sort of, it's a nice level-setting exercise. We sort of see where everyone else is coming together to discuss this. So please do weigh in if you can. And I think with that, I am done with my opening remarks, and I will turn things over to Mark. Mark, please take it away. You have the floor.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Briefly, IDC, we're a research and advisory firm located outside of Boston. We basically look at everything within technology, and then we have our insights groups, which is what I'm in, financial insights, where we take a more vertical approach as kind of coming up with what are the technology challenges in our space. Right now, that shows our global footprint. We have actually about 1,200 research analysts all over the world, and as you can see there, we are fairly evenly distributed. So let's get right into it, right? So this is the agenda, right? Basically, it's not easy, as you guys know, being in banking. We're heavily regulated, highly scrutinized, yet we're completely necessary to drive our economies and build our communities. My objective today is to provide you with an overview of those challenges, which are eating away at operational efficiencies and limiting revenue opportunities, and show you what it takes to move along the digital transformation and the omni-experience journey. I'll be looking at key drivers in our industry, an overview of investment, and the impact on digital transformation projects, and a quick journey of digital transformation. I'll also show some omni-channel usage statistics, and finally an overview of our omni-experience maturity model. So we basically find ourselves, let me make sure I'm on the right slide here. Yep. on. Let's see. Yep. So we find our industry in a period that's really defined by an explosion of innovation and value creation that forms foundation, and this new wave of core technologies or innovation accelerators that radically extend the capabilities and applications. The innovation accelerators that we feel impact financial services are really in no particular order. We have next generation security, cognitive systems, robotics, primarily in banking, robotic process automation, the Internet of Things, and finally natural interfaces. So if you look at this list, the main drivers around digital transformation is really the first one, DX. It's staying relevant. It's CYQ, legacy modernization, and the new nature of risk. So the term digital transformation, it's really become so pervasive that it's easy to get confused about what it is and how it's impacting business strategy. So IDC really sees DX as an outside-in process of first, recognizing the accelerating external adoption of digitized technology and the impact that's going to have on your organization as well as our industry. And then next, adapting business initiatives to leverage IT's increasingly sophisticated ability to provide solutions that can span across all aspects, whether it's business to business to consumer, or consumer to consumer, and really across all channels, which is what I think we're going to see today. So staying relevant in the new digital age is one of the key priorities for the vast majority of established financial institutions, as really our customers' demands are changing rapidly. When banks fail to adapt to this evolution, they're going to look outdated, lack agility, and be unable to offer modern financial products and services. And that's going to be kind of challenging because you have an increasingly impatient demographic. Now, IDC defines CYQ as an intelligent, emergent cognitive network in which sensors and devices, so the Internet of Things, right, creates and operates the sharing and analysis of data about people and their lives that's updated continuously, but really kind of invisible and behind the scenes. In other words, it's how we're connecting all these data points we have to make real impactful decisions. Next, we have legacy modernization. So much of the bank is running on code built 40 years ago. And we kind of have a hodgepodge of systems that really have begun the process of compartmentalizing upgrades or bolting on new technology to our legacy platforms. So the challenge really of running the bank while changing the bank is real. And then the new nature of risk, as bad actors are finding new ways into sophisticated attacks that can trick even the most savvy of individuals. Account hijacking is a growing concern, as is identity theft and the liability that banks take on when they inadvertently open accounts that fund these bad actors. So here's our next section. First, I want to provide a quick overview of the sentiment had by banks when it comes to investing back into their products and services. So we find that there's a direct correlation to investment based on overall business sentiment. As we can see here, in this survey we conducted of financial service IT executives, sentiment is favorable, with a very impressive 32% saying they have a very positive view over the next 12 to 18 months for their organization. This will mean that banks will be investing in solutions that a few years ago they may have mothballed. So where are they investing? That's going to be on the next slide here. Those same executives we queried in this slide, we have them divided between commercial banks and savings institutions to show that there is a difference in how they are investing. But obviously meeting compliance requirements has historically been number one. Yet this year we're seeing real shift towards investing in ways to improve the organization's revenue while mitigating risk and reducing the costs. Commercial banks are also looking at ways to introduce new and or improve products and services. A good chunk of these investments are specifically aimed at improving the digital experience, incorporating the latest technologies into existing solutions, which can lead to improved returns without a full rip and replace. All right, so this is going to lead us to our digital maturity model, and this is where the poll we're going to get to here. So listen up and think about which one of these your organization is in. So as we spoke to financial institutions, we came with 5 different levels of maturity, right? At the most basic, it's the digital resistor. So these organizations are providing a basic customer experience using technology primarily to check the box and to counter threats. Next, we have the digital explorer. They generally have a few more digital offerings, yet those are often inconsistent experiences for the customer, and they're poorly integrated to their systems, and the overall customer experience is just kind of okay. Next, we have the digital player. These organizations are often called the fast followers. They want to wait and see what the competition is doing, but the overall customer experience here is actually pretty good. Next, we have the digital transformer. These organizations are noted in their marketplace as really being a leader in their digital solutions. They're deploying best-of-breed solutions. And finally, we have the digital disruptor. These organizations are highly innovative, have a repeatable model for their digital offerings, and they're leaders and disrupting the industry. So, Mike, let's go ahead and do that quick poll and see where our attendees feel they are on this maturity model.
Excellent, excellent. Let's do it. As promised, here we go. It's the first, and yes, it's the first and only poll we've got today. So what I'll do is just read the question, and I'll read off the answers, and hopefully in that amount of time, everyone will have had a chance to make their selection. So the question is, how would you rank your organization's maturity on digital transformation? Digital resistor? Are you a digital explorer, a digital player, a digital transformer, or a digital disruptor? So once again, the question, how would you rank your organization's maturity on digital transformation, resistor, explorer, player, transformer, or disruptor? So I will give everyone just another moment or two to make their selection, but I think it's probably everyone has a pretty good idea where they stand on that question. So why don't I go ahead now and just share the results. And there we go. So digital player, 37.2% is the most selected, followed by digital explorer at 30.7%. That's interesting. Mark, is that kind of what you were expecting to see, or any surprises there?
No surprises at all, actually. I'm going to push to the next slide, Mike. And you can see our Bell distribution curve actually is very similar. So we did conduct a benchmark here of 300 U.S. organizations across, now this is across all industries, right? And we can see the majority of the organizations are at the level of that digital explorer and digital player, right? And I would contend that the organizations need to do when they're in this, looking at this maturity model, is determine really what do they want to aspire to. Then they look for the right solutions and products to get them to that level. I'll tell you, the better the customer experience is, the more rapidly one kind of moves up that model. So since we went across multiple industries, our sample size is not large enough for me to display statistically relevant banking data points. But overall, the banks that we did query, they match quite similarly from a trending standpoint. So that's great when the research actually matches a live poll. So let's go to slide 12. Let's not forget, really at the heart of transformation is the fact that really it's the technology itself. And from our survey here, line of business executives were asked, what's the single most important role of your IT organization in helping you meet your strategic direction? And you can see the line is looking to IT, first off, for innovation, to help them identify which part of the business could be digitally transformed through the use of technology. Next of importance is the actual technology itself, and it's ironic that technology is now the second thought of what IT delivers, really not the primary, helping them identify the technology that they may not be familiar with, what's coming down the pike that my customers are going to need, and help me remain competitive and hopefully reduce some costs. And finally, IT is really the project manager, and I'm a former IT guy, so everyone knows how methodical and analytical we are. So it does make sense that IT leads the project management for these products, whether it's installed on-prem or, as we're seeing, a lot of cloud solutions as well. So let's look quickly at the journey of a digital transformation project. So this is not a color wheel helping you pick the color of your next painting project, right? It's really an overview of how we feel one should actually go about assessing their digital transformation projects. The why, what, who, and how. And all we're missing here is the where. And the answer today is the where is really digital platforms. It's online and mobile offerings in particular. So as with all good journeys, there has to be a starting point and somewhat of an ending point. And we feel there are 5 steps in this journey that need to be sequentially. First, you have the audit. Understand what you have today of your digital assets and solutions. Next, develop some KPIs to properly measure prior to implementing a new service or technology. Then perform the due diligence with finding the best technology that meets your strategic direction. Implementation is key. This includes not only rolling out the solution, but training and educating internal staff and your customers. And finally, refine post-implementation, right? This is a continual process as refinement actually lends itself back to the audit, which gets the cycle repeating. So in the why section, before you begin this journey, think about why you're doing this. It's likely you're trying to protect the investments you've made to your legacy investments. And by legacy, I don't mean old and antiquated, simply your existing. You want to align consumer trends and behavior regarding their financial needs and preferences with products and services that work for both the customer and the bank. For the what component, these are the questions an institution should be asking when thinking about the outcome. Not biasing the outcome or trying to come up with a specific number, not yet. Here you begin to build the blueprint that accommodates your transformation. You then want to choose the right technologies and perform the necessary due diligence. Next is the who component. Here you think about the stakeholders of the project. There are generally three for digital solutions. We have the customers, your IT, and line of business. So all these stakeholders must be included in the process. And finally, the how. How is this going to be done? One concern today is technology is changing so rapidly, it makes it difficult to know when to jump in and invest. So work with the right partners to make sure you future-proof as much as possible, and that will pay off down the road. So everyone likes bar charts and stats, so I'm going to throw some of those out here as well. So at IDCFI, we've been conducting a survey on banking usage for over a decade. Lots of trending stats, and it's always interesting to see the trends. One trend we're seeing right now has to do with the disparity of generations that really needs to be a wake-up call for some financial institutions. First, let's look at the breakout of where people bank based on their generation. The millennials, which I know we're all kind of tired of hearing about this generation, but soon they're actually going to be the majority of the workforce. Millennials are choosing large national regional banks, really at the expense of the community banks and credit unions. As we can see here, this shows a mix of each generation as to where they bank. What's driving these millennials to the larger banks is really the technology that they offer. Now, this isn't saying that smaller-sized institutions don't offer these technologies, but if you're defensive with your digital strategy, chances are you're not promoting it. Thus, millennials are probably unaware of your offerings. So this is another view which shows that community banks are really lagging large national and regional banks in their customer mix. Of course, this is not to say all community banks are in this situation, but our research has shown that the smaller banks are losing customers to these institutions that offer better technology. I'm not showing it here, but if I showed you this mix for the last few years, you'll see that the percentage of customers in community banks is certainly aging. Aren't we all, though, right? Okay, so now let's look from that same survey, a trend using the years 2011, 2014, and 2016 when it comes to omni-channel usage. So one thing I want to point out, look at the high percentage of digital channel usage, with mobile pretty much doubling over each of these years to just now about two-thirds of the customers using mobile banking. In addition, online usage, while we know it's a mature product, it's almost at 90% penetration, and it's been growing steadily. So the concept of a customer being mobile first, it's real. But I do think that the idea of mobile first and mobile only is only going to be a small minority of the digital users. Most customers are going to want and need to take advantage of the technologies offered, both by a more traditional online experience as well as that of a mobile one. So customers are becoming hyper users of all these channels. First, we ask them to gauge their mobile banking usage, and just about 1 out of 5 customers are using their mobile banking once a day, and almost half are using weekly or even more frequently. This is a significant channel and growing in usage every year. And the next slide will show you who's actually using that channel. So it's the younger generations that are really adopting mobile. In fact, it's almost 100% driven by age right now. Looking at this chart, the 85% of active millennials on mobile is a stark contrast to the 75% of the silent generation who are inactive. But still impressive, there are 25% of that silent generation who are using mobile banking technology. So simply saying that older demographics won't use mobile is a mistake. And actually, that generation has been growing with their mobile usage. Now let's look quickly at online usage. So if you thought customers were hyper with mobile, look at the gauge frequency for online. 1 out of 3 people are logging in almost once a day to look at their banking information, and 3 out of 5 are accessing it at least once a week or more. But a more interesting trend here is a similar graphic on the demographic usage for the online channel. While it's a similar trend in age, the gap is not nearly as prevalent as we saw with mobile. Even the silent generation, 3 out of 4 of those customers are using online banking, while 95% of millennials are still using the online channel. This is why I believe that a mobile-only mantra is just going to be rare. Solutions that take into consideration both the online and mobile kind of working together, maybe even in conjunction with physical channels like the ATM, call center, and the branch. They're more likely to find success than siloed ones. All right, so I wanted to quickly show this slide because I think it's interesting to see how people perceive their institutions. So these are sorted alphabetically, but pay attention to the color and the number in the second column. If they're green, then the customer agrees with that sentiment. If they're red, then the customer disagrees. Now, when it comes to customers using their bank's digital channel, the sentiment today is that it's easier to use someone personally, i.e. at a branch or in the call center. And we haven't done enough to remove the friction of the digital channel, particularly when it comes to consumer education, onboarding, and new account registrations. So we definitely love maturity models. This next section will show you how the Omni experience can also be modeled like we did for digital transformation. The first level is what we call ad hoc. So these banks are shallow and provide little ability to adapt their business models. Products and services deliver somewhat personalized services, but it's not there yet. We believe that banks in this level will have slowed growth as they won't be able to keep up with the technology changes. And these banks are probably either going to fail or be acquired in the long run. Next, we have opportunistic, right? This is where the organization is more enriched and provides the bank with ways to create more enduring relationships with their customers. The customer is at the key of this stage, yet the other stakeholders maybe not as much. Here's the outcome. They're digitally enabled and enhanced customer experiences, but they're inconsistent, unsustainable, and they're not repeatable. Next, we have the repeatable, right? Yes, okay. This is where we start to see some repeatable processes around digital experience. We have a consistent and good start to creating an engaged and interactive experience. The outcome here is that the bank can now provide a repeatable solution. They're on par with their peers, but they're not quite true innovators. And the next level is called the managed. It's amplified over the repeatable stage, and now we're offering high quality and fully customized products and customer experiences. The bank is usually looked at as an early adapter and looks for new markets to enter and compete on their digital offerings. And then finally, we have fully optimized, or the disruptor. Here we have the most incredible customer experiences available, and we have full cooperation and interaction from all the stakeholders to become a well-oiled machine. The banks in this area are usually growing faster than their peers. They're disrupting markets and sometimes creating new opportunities and innovative services. So this is like the final model slide, shows you in one easy-to-read slide what each level means and the differences as we move from one level to the next. While we won't do any polls here, we have benchmarked this maturity model, and I'm actually going to show that on the next slide. So we're actually in the process of doing the same benchmark for banks, and I have a feeling it'll be a little bit different than what I'm showing here. But overall, as we saw in the DX model, the majority of institutions, and this is for all industries, remember, are in that opportunistic and repeatable stage. And I would say for most institutions, they should just focus on the next level up. It's unrealistic for a bank to go from repeatable to optimized. Getting to those highest levels is extremely expensive and time-consuming, and it's probably not for everybody. So let's just wrap up with some guidance and an overview. So we here at IDC predict that by the end of next year, 2/3 of CEOs is really going to have digital transformation at the center of their corporate strategy. As heads of financial service providers manage their heavily regulated and complex businesses, they're going to rely on digital transformation to transition from old school strategies to new ways of thinking, from thinking of how they engage with the customer to thinking about how the customer wants to engage with them, rapidly taking ideas from the sandbox and deploying them into fully functional products and services that keep the examiners, regulators, business units, customers, and employees happy and engaged. So first, understand the industry trends, not only what is happening in IT, but what's happening with your peers, with the banks that you aspire to become, and with new entrants. Staying on top of this is critical to avoid the expense of playing catch-up and losing opportunities. Next, digital transformation is not easy. Expect there to be costs associated and pain points along the way. Third, develop a way to improve the customer experience. It's key to success, particularly when it comes to growing reliance on digital platforms. And finally, be prepared to refine the process and make changes, and adapt as the technology and customer expectations change. They both will in the blink of an eye, which is why we show this as a continual cycle. And now I think I'm going to turn it over to Steve at Mitek. Steve?
Great. Thanks, Mark. And thanks, everyone, for joining us today. My name is Steve Craig, and I'm Director of Products here at Mitek. I don't have an agenda slide. I'm just going to take you through a few slides about Mitek, show a brief demo, and then we'll get it turned right over to Avoka. So the slide you have up here, this is just information about us. Mitek, we're a global leader in mobile capture and identity verification. We're a public company. We're on the NASDAQ. You can check us out. Our ticker is MITK. We've got offices in San Diego, London, and Amsterdam. You probably know us from use of mobile deposit. So if you've ever taken a picture of a check through a mobile app, you're a user of Mitek technology. We've processed more than 1 billion transactions with that. It's actually one of the most popular features in mobile banking. Our technology is proven. We've got over 5,200 institutions using our technology. We impact 70 million plus end users. Our auto capture experience is in 4 out of the 5 top financial institutions. We're also a global expert in documents. Beyond checks, we also work with passports, driver's license, and ID docs across the globe, and we're a trusted partner. The presentation you're going to see today has details from Avoka, who's one of our trusted partners as well. So moving ahead, one of the things that we focus on in the account opening process is making sure that you provide a great user experience for your consumers and don't have a trade-off on the risk that comes with opening new accounts through the mobile channel. So we feel that having a strong identity verification process and an awesome mobile user experience, those two are not mutually exclusive. You don't want to increase abandonment by adding parts of the ID verification process. You may need to augment or replace knowledge-based authentication questions, and ultimately you want to say yes to more good customers. You want to get them through your process as quickly as possible. Our Mobile Verify product is central to that. So our Mobile Verify product, if you go across the bottom here, we've focused on a great capture user experience. We want it to be fast and accurate so a customer can get through the process quickly. Supporting identity documents across the globe is very important to us. We acquired a company about a year back called ID Checker, which expanded the breadth of our coverage around the world. Through our processes, we help you achieve compliance for your know your customer and anti-money laundering requirements. And then through the process of identity verification, we're looking at things in the document, including security features that are embedded to help ensure that the document that is being presented is authentic. And then, of course, we offer for customers that need it an expert level check. This is like having a Border Patrol agent at your account opening process to evaluate documents coming through the system. To show you an example, I'm going to demonstrate just the mobile capture aspect of our Mobile Verify product. Here we have the mobile web. We're giving the user some instructions about how to take a great capture, and then we ask the user to take a picture. So here, presenting a driver's license, we've blurred out the information on that. That photo can then be used as part of the onboarding process. The next part of the flow is capture of the back of the driver's license. This allows us to extract information from that barcode, but also to do additional validations against the encoded information in the barcode, as well as the information that we're optically reviewing in the front. From there, we transmit that to our secure servers. We provide information that can be used for a pre-fill of an application, and we're also providing a score that will allow you to make decisions in your workflow on where to send this user to the next spot in the workflow. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of where Mitek sits in this flow. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Derek at Avoka, and he'll walk you through a few more slides.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, I'm Derek Corcoran. I'm the Chief Experience Officer here at Avoka. And already in today's webinar, we've heard from Market IDC that we have a trend towards digital interactions, but that digital transformation is actually proving challenging for the banks. And this is complicated by the need to support an omni-channel experience, which is the expectation of customers today. They should be able to start and complete transactions wherever they feel. And it's critical for banks to be able to test and learn in an agile fashion, so to move from being a slow-moving institution to one that can move as quickly as organizations such as Amazon. And our partners at Mitek have highlighted the importance of offering customers a convenient onboarding experience. But that needs to be balanced against the significant potential for fraud. However, as Mitek demonstrated, convenience and fraud prevention aren't mutually exclusive when acquiring customers digitally. So with that in mind, I'd like to pose a question. How do you go about transforming your account opening process into an omni-channel experience that's both convenient for customers, but also preventing fraud within your institution? How do you leverage providers like Mitek to create that perfect account opening or loan origination experience? So traditionally, there have been two options. First, you can buy. So solutions exist for online account opening, and they have the benefit of being pre-built and proven to work. However, those solutions typically have a focus, a single focus, on a product such as deposit accounts. Don't offer the ability to bundle products together or to offer cross-sell capabilities, and can mean your account opening, card applications, and loan origination all offer inconsistent experiences as each is delivered by a different system. Those solutions tend to force banks to use a predetermined set of vendors for fraud prevention, identity verification, and decisioning. And obviously there's a cost associated with purchasing and continuing to use that solution. So the other option is to build your own solution. Now that has the benefit of affording the bank the flexibility to design exactly the experience they want to put in front of the customer, along with the option to integrate hand-picked vendors for services such as verification and fraud prevention. However, those solutions are slow and expensive to create, and once they're built, any subsequent changes are significant IT projects in their own right, crippling the agility of the bank to continue to innovate. It's not unusual for a bank to invest 18 months to build something like an account opening or a credit card application solution, and then find that they're in quarterly release cycles for ongoing changes, enhancements, or improvements. At Avoka, we offer a third option. It's a platform approach to delivering frictionless digital experiences for account opening, card applications, loan origination, and wealth onboarding. Now, as a platform, the bank still needs to allow for the fact that there's a cost to purchase and maintain the platform with Avoka. However, this is easily offset by the flexibility to build customer experiences that reduce abandonment and fraud. Avoka provides pre-built components and fintech integrations that are kind of like big Lego building blocks, allowing our clients to assemble the customer experience they want instead of accepting somebody else's design or having to program that experience from scratch. The Avoka platform allows banks to rapidly build frictionless omni-channel experiences for bank, lending, and even wealth management products. And the platform provides three primary components. First, there's a design tool that provides a graphical drag-and-drop environment to assemble that experience. You can start with one of our pre-built templates for something like a deposit account, or a blank template that embodies your style, navigation, error handling, and so on. Secondly, there's a catalog of pre-built integrations that include connectors to services for ID verification, fraud prevention, e-signatures, imaging, including our connector to Mitek. We've done the work to integrate with best-in-class fintech solutions, so you don't have to. And we provide you with the flexibility to choose who you want to integrate with for things like fraud prevention or e-signatures. And finally, there's a server component to the solution that manages these transactions once they're in production and gives you the capabilities to understand what's happening from an analytics perspective and then optimize your omni-channel sales experiences. Today, I'd like to show you an example of an account opening experience that leverages Mitek along with 5 other integrations. We're going to take a look at how that experience is assembled in the Avoka platform. Then we'll preview the application on different form factors and devices. And then we'll take a look at part of that account opening experience in production. So let's begin by taking a look at how we add the Mitek integration to an existing account opening experience. So what you see here is a checking account application in Avoka's design environment, Maestro, and I'd like to add Mitek integration to it. In the structure panel on the left, we navigate to the applicant details section of the form, and from the palette of tools, we'll search for the Mitek component, which has pre-built integration into the Mitek services. Once we've found it, we'll simply drag and drop to add that Mitek service to this application experience. Now, the Mitek service will return data extracted from the driver's license, whether it's the front image or the barcode. So we'll need to associate what comes back from Mitek with the fields on the form that need to be pre-filled. And we do that through the properties panel on the right-hand side. We see that the personal, just wait for it to catch up, the personal output section has 6 field reference. So we'll go ahead and associate some of them with the fields on our checking account application. So we simply click there and a dialog displays, and it shows us the fields that are coming back from Mitek and the fields on the application form we might want to associate that with. So from the fields on the left, coming back from Mitek, we're simply going to drag and drop. We'll associate first name with the first name field on the application form. And let's do exactly the same for last name and date of birth. Now, there's no programming here. We're empowering non-programmers such as business analysts or web designers to do this kind of work, to create these kinds of experiences, not just in terms of building, but even in terms of configuring services such as pre-fill services from someone like Mitek. So let's save our work to date, and we'll move on to the next step of the demonstration. So let's test our work. Let's preview this application experience in the Maestro design environment before we publish. So we're back in Maestro again, and we'll see the application. It's fully interactive. As we make selections, the account opening responds as expected. We'll choose some eligibility questions here. We'll say yes, no, we don't want to do international transfers, and we can navigate backwards and forwards within the application. And here on the second screen, the applicant screen, we can see that Mitek pre-fill widget that we dropped onto the form. Now, for now, we just want to make sure this experience is going to work on a range of screen sizes and devices. So let's take a look at the layout on a large screen as well as a medium device like a tablet. And let's have a look at what it's going to look like on a small device like a smartphone. And we can see that this single application design is responding based on the available real estate. But let's also preview this on an actual device on an iPad. So we can simulate the iPad experience, and we can even rotate it to see what it looks like in landscape versus portrait mode. Okay, so everything's looking good so far. But what about on a smaller device, like an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy S7? So we'll choose the S7 from the drop-down list, and we can see how it looks in landscape mode. But let's go ahead and rotate that and see what it's going to look like in portrait mode on that mobile device. And we can still interact with this. So now that everything looks good in the design environment, let's actually go and take a look at this in production on an actual mobile device. So here's our application on a smartphone. And you can see again, we've got fully responsive behavior. We'll make selections and go ahead and move through the application. And you can see the Mitek component to pre-fill the form. Now, I have an image of a test license that I'm going to retrieve from the gallery on my device. Now, in reality, I'd simply take a photograph of my license. And one of the key components or benefits of the Mitek service is if I use the camera to take a photograph, that photograph doesn't stay on the device. But I didn't want to take a photograph of my actual license for obvious reasons, so I'm just going to use a test image that we have here that we know has non-real data, fake data in it. Now, while that's being processed, we can go ahead and complete some other details while the data is being extracted, which typically takes only about 3 to 5 seconds. So we'll go ahead and enter the phone number and social security and email address. And I can tell you that the Mitek service has already responded and retrieved some data to pre-fill the application. But we'll go ahead and fill in that social security number so we can move on to the next section of the application form. And we'll enter an email address. And you'll notice that the email address is automatically using the appropriate keyboard with the @ sign and the .com to streamline the process of entering that for the consumer. And if we scroll back up, you'll see we've got a nice little green tick telling us that we've been able to pre-fill the document. And here on the next screen, we can see some of the data that's been pre-filled. So we're showing the name, date of birth, and address from the driver's license. So that's all looking good. And we've also got the license data. So we'll move on to the second section. The next section, step 4, of our application process. Now that's a lot of keystrokes that have been saved, which particularly in a mobile device is important. Now, I've changed address recently, so we're going to use a Google Type Ahead address component to accelerate address input. Now, this doesn't just make it easier for me to enter my address by prompting me to choose something from a drop-down list. This also improves the accuracy of the address that's being collected, and that subsequently improves the accuracy of matches in our identity verification and credit or deposit checks. which reduces the amount of rework because we get an instant approval. And we'll select electronic verification and have those details sent to our partners here at LexisNexis, and ChexSystems qualify for verification. And we can see that that's been successful. Now, during that process, LexisNexis returns some out-of-wallet questions. So we'll go ahead and answer those. So we'll go ahead and make some selections based on the questions we've been asked by LexisNexis. And our identity verification is complete. So we'll go ahead and continue. Which brings us to the funding section of the application. But in the interest of time, I'm going to stop the demo at this point. But it's important to note that the funding within the Avoka platform, the experience supports instant account verification, trial deposits, ACH, and so on. And in this example, we actually built those using a relationship with Yodlee. So the Avoka platform allows our banking clients to rapidly build the digital sales experience they want in a low-code environment. We've done the work to integrate fantastic services from partners like Mitek, so you don't have to. But if we go back to the title of our webinar, how to increase top line in digital account opening, let's look at some examples of clients that Avoka has had the pleasure of working with. So the first example here, we can see a bank in North America used the Avoka platform for checking account applications and saw a 37% net increase in customer acquisition as a result of going live on the Avoka platform. They were able to deliver that next generation of experience that converted better than what they were doing today. Another client applied the Avoka platform in their loan refinancing, and they saw a 200% increase in loan volume as a result of working with us. We've also had clients see significant benefit in reducing manual processes, whether that's rework in digital account opening because identity verification problems or fraud problems, but also even in branch, decreasing the time to open a deposit account for one of our clients from 55 minutes to 16 minutes, meaning staff are more productive, they can spend more time talking with customers about their financial needs. And one of our clients applied our technology in their small business banking area, and they created a bundled offering of products for small businesses. And by streamlining that process on our platform, they were able to increase the average number of products per customer from 1.4 to 4.0. If you'd like more information about the Avoka platform and how our partnership with Mitek could benefit your bank, please feel free to contact me directly. My details are on screen. Thank you very much for your time, and I think we're going to go to Q&A. It looks like we've got about 13 minutes, so plenty of time to talk.
Excellent. Thank you, Derek. Yes, we've timed it very well. We've got a lot of good questions in the queue, so I think we should just get right down to it. Let's see here. First question, actually, Derek, let me ask you this question. Is Avoka a mobile application that is downloaded to the phone? If not, why not?
No, we firmly believe that if a customer, if the bank's marketing has worked and somebody in a digital environment, whether it's on a PC or a mobile device, says, hey, this bank looks like it's got the checking account or the credit card that I want, asking them to download a mobile app would be a point of friction whereby we run a significant chance of losing the customer at that point. So everything that Avoka does is HTML5, works in the browser, and the partners that we work with, like Mitek, they also provide services that we can encapsulate in that browser experience. So really the only thing the customer needs is a device with a modern browser in order to be able to access the kind of experience that we've shown today.
Thank you very much. And this, perhaps a kind of a follow-up question. How does it work in a branch? We also have a portal whereby branch employees or staff within the bank, because we also have clients using us in their contact center, and even with mobile relationship managers, they log into that secure portal and they have access to the same online account opening or loan origination forms that would be available via the website. But obviously as a branch employee, they can be pre-filled with details from the branch employee about who completed it. So the application can be completed on a desktop or a tablet. We have clients who are using us on kiosks, mobile tablets, as well as on the teller devices. So they complete the application with the customer. Now, if the customer
feels they don't have the required information or the required time to complete the process, it can be saved by the branch employee. It can be emailed as a secure link to the customer. So when the customer gets home or back to their office and they've got more time and the required information, they can resume that partially completed application. So we act as this layer, this system of engagement layer that's completely focused on the customer experience, collecting as much information as we need before submitting it down to the core banking system. So that gives us the flexibility to save partially complete applications and facilitate crossover between different channels and different devices. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Derek. Okay, let me ask Steve a question here. Is Mitek's capture workflow brandable?
That's a great question. So the experience you saw today was our mobile web product, and that is indeed brandable around the messages and tutorials and information provided back to the user. Our native iOS and Android products that you didn't see today here are also fully brandable. So if you've used various auto capture mobile check deposit experiences, you can see the degree to which that can be changed and modified to suit your particular brand or colors or scheme.
Excellent, excellent, thanks. And just while I've got you, another one for you. What things do you look into to make sure it is a valid capture?
So the valid capture is done through our advanced computer vision. So one of the innovations that we have in the mobile web product that you saw that was also integrated here in Avoka's demo is an analysis in JavaScript of the four corners of the document, the sharpness, the brightness, detecting glare, the sort of things that would prevent a downstream evaluation of that document. So we do that, and we provide feedback back to the user if they're not meeting one of the preset criteria. In the demos today, it just went flawlessly because we took great captures, but in the real-world use case, customers would get that computer vision feedback.
Excellent, excellent, thank you. Here's a question. Let me just toss it out to you guys. Does this technology identify and validate the veracity of an internal ID kind of passport or driver's license?
So I think that's more of a Mitek question. We do have document support globally, so across the U.S. driver's license and state IDs, of course, and then globally we're evaluating passport and then the ID card of choice for that country. Some countries, for example, Mexico, use a voter registration card. So we are doing a verification across the actual document itself. We're not reaching out to the actual issuers of those documents. So this is a computer vision analysis to check for the presence of things that would indicate fraud. In some cases, especially for the documents in the U.S., we're looking for security features that are embedded in the documents which are not fakeable. Those are essentially embedded pieces that almost guarantee the authenticity of the document.
Interesting. Thank you. All right. Lots of great questions here. Thanks, everyone in the audience, for putting these in. Is there an e-signature capture as part of the account opening process available?
So this is Derek. Yeah, I'll take that one. As part of our native product, we have the ability to capture kind of a scribble signature on glass, but we also have built integrations with DocuSign and eSign Live, which used to be Solanus and is now Vasco. So we have clients that are using that e-signature as part of the onboarding process. And it really comes down to the bank's choice as to whether or not they feel an e-signature is required. For some of our clients, we simply present the link to the disclosures with a checkbox with the name of the customer against it, saying, by checking this box, I accept the disclosures, terms and conditions associated with this account. But for other products, in lending or wealth management, an e-signature may be required, and again, we've pre-built those integrations.
Hey, Derek, it's Mark and Michael. I hope you don't mind. I just have a follow-up on that. Is there actual verification on the document that was provided that the signatures match, or is this just kind of a more check the box that you acknowledge that you've received?
At the moment, it's a more check the box. And where we've looked at doing things like signature verification against other documents, very often the driver's license is 10 years old and the signature is significantly different to what it was for the consumer when they actually signed it.
Right.
One of our banking clients that uses us in the branch, the process they have in place is when the signature is captured on the glass of the tablet, the bank employee asks the customer to present a bank card or their driver's license, some document that actually has a signature on it. And given that it's a bank employee that's verifying that the signature on the tablet looks like the one on the other document, the bank's compliance people have said that that's sufficient.
And that's usually signing with a stylus as opposed to using your index finger, correct?
Yeah, really good point, yeah, because it generates that much better representation when they use a stylus, and that's part of the process that the bank was able to enforce because it was happening in branch.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Mark, for chiming in. It's nice to get everybody talking about these questions. They're very interesting. Okay, next question. Again, I'm just going to toss this out to the assembled panel we have here. How do you feel about funding demand accounts with credit cards? Do you prevent that?
So from the Avoka perspective, we don't. If you think about what our product is, which is a platform that allows the bank to build the experience they want, that becomes a bank decision from a risk and compliance perspective. So if the bank has a policy that says we do not allow funding of accounts through credit cards, then they simply enforce that through the design that they deliver. So we're not providing our clients with a package to say you can't change things. We can provide them with a baseline and say you can modify this, or they can build the experience they want. So that really becomes a configuration from the bank's perspective.
Understood. Thank you. All right. Okay. How are you getting customer disclosure and consents captured?
The most common way of doing it is simply a checkbox that has a link to the disclosures and the customer accepts it. We have had implementations where the bank has insisted that the customer scroll to the end of the disclosures before the checkbox is presented, so they need to at least accept that they've scrolled through a scrollable dialogue of all the disclosures. From the work that we've done, there's nothing from a regulatory perspective that insists that the customer does that we've seen. So we can provide advice, but at the end of the day, our banking clients own the responsibility to ensure they're compliant with their regulations. So they use our platform to deliver the experience that they're comfortable with from a regulatory and also a internal risk and compliance kind of perspective. But the most common implementation is simply that checkbox, which displays the links to say here are the disclosures, and the customer checks the box with their name against it, which has been potentially filled from the data that we extracted from the Mitek license. So it'll say Derek John Corcoran as my full name on my license, and I check the box, and that's the presentation of the disclosures or acceptance of.
Interesting. And Derek, sort of picking up on that kind of regulatory angle you were just talking about, how does Avoka handle the changing regulatory demands?
Again, a great question, and I hate to say this, but a lot of this kind of flows back to the bank as to how they want to implement that. We're not the financial institution; we don't carry that responsibility. But what our platform does allow is for the banks to respond a lot more rapidly to those regulatory environments. So if something changes and they feel they need to modify their account opening experience as a result, they can do that very quickly. We just went through a cycle with one of our clients where they identified some opportunities to improve their account opening experience. And from identifying those opportunities to those changes being in production was 10 business days, which for a typical bank is more like 6 to 9 months to get changes put into production, whereas our clients are finding that the nature of our platform allows them to respond to regulatory changes as well as customer experience changes very quickly.
Very good. All right. Let me ask, can you provide examples of what would cause an account opening to be denied? For example, fraud or CIP issues?
Steve, do you want to take a first cut at that one? I've been talking a bit.
Sure, I certainly can. So the way our product works, after the front and back of the driver's license has been captured, we're providing an analysis from our platform. With that, a score is generated or other details about the license. That may not necessarily mean that you're denying that applicant. It may mean that there are additional checks or other processes you may put in place to run them through the process. Specific examples would include the information not having consistency from the front and back. If we're doing a scan for the security feature, if it's not present, or if there are other details, especially in an expert review process, that would indicate that there has been tamper or other changes made to that document. So we'd flag that. You may not pass those details on to that end user, but then it helps you drive the workflow from there to decide what to do next.
And from the Avoka perspective, we augment those kinds of services with relationships with people like Check Systems Qualify to see if this is a customer that the bank has determined that they want to do business with based on past behavior. Also integrations with people like LexisNexis or Equifax. We can return red flags associated with the identity verification check, and the bank will then configure rules to say, based on these parameters, it's an instant approval or an instant decline, or the application is pended. And if it's pended, the Avoka platform puts it into a queue, and at that point, the customer is notified that there's a little bit more work needs to be done before their application can be decisioned, and a bank employee has the opportunity to review the application plus the feedback they've gotten from Mitek, from Qualify, from Equifax or LexisNexis, and they can make a determination as to whether or not this is somebody they can open a bank account for. I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you. Thanks very much. We're right at the top of the hour, but let me just slip in one last question since we've had so many from the audience, and we're not going to get to all of them today. But do Avoka and Mitek provide the same type of new account opening services for businesses?
Yes, we do. We have clients that use us in the full range from consumer banking all the way through to institutional onboarding, which for most of our clients means companies in excess of $500 million a year in revenues. And when onboarding an institutional customer, we also need to verify the identity, or even a small business customer, we need to verify the identity of the individuals. So we can still leverage the services of our partners at Mitek to accelerate that process by using photo ID capture and verification of the authenticity of the document as part of the business account opening. So long way of saying yes.
Excellent, excellent. And that, I think, is a good note to end on. So we're just a little past the top of the hour. We always try to bring these programs in as close to our scheduled time as possible, respecting everyone's busy days. Let me thank Mark, Steve, and Derek. It's been a great hour, lots of great material, lots of great questions. As I said at the top of the hour, we'll be in contact with everyone that put in questions that we weren't able to address during the time we had today. Thank you for putting those questions in, and as I said, your voice will be heard. And please keep an eye on your email because we will be sending you a follow-up in the next couple days with a link to the recording. So please keep an eye out for that, and we encourage you to listen in again. You can also request the slides themselves if you'd like, so please keep that in mind as well. We'd be happy to provide those. And with that, I'll wrap it up. Wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day, and I hope you'll join us again here very soon. Thanks so much.